Christopher Redfield. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Now, when did you join the TSO?
I joined in 1989.
Now, tell us about your role as a member of the viola section.
It's kind of obvious in a lot of ways what a principal does to, when the audience member is watching the orchestra play. Basically, they play a solo when they get when one comes up for the first chair viola. But I was thinking, I wonder what they think of a section player, what their role is, and what goes through their mind. It's really interesting because it's kind of a balancing act. Your main job is to blend with your section. You don't want anything sticking out. You want the whole section to sound kind of homogeneous. But at the same time, you have a lot of things to think about while you're playing in the section. You have to obviously watch the conductor. And it is a balancing act because you can't really kind of anticipate what's happening. There's a distance you're dealing with physically and also...
Oh, right, yeah, because you're not right up at the front with the conductor. You'll be, several feet or meters back.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you can't hear the front player or the front stand. And so, if you know how they play, you can kind of anticipate, and you have to kind of lean forward, in your seat. And because if you kind of react too much, then you might be a little late, or you might kind of hesitate or tense up, and you're not going to make your best sound. So it's kind of like a combination, I guess, of almost leading, but just being in sync and kind of following all at the same time.
It is a really complicated role, that's for sure. I mean, one would think, oh, well, you get to blend in and there's, 8 or 10 or 12 of you playing the same thing at the same time, just play. But it's true because it's not as though your job is to follow your own instinct to, do what you want to do, because that's basically being done by the principal viola who you have to support.
Right.
And mimic, but at the same time, you want to engage emotionally. Is that difficult or easy when you're also, gauging all of these different factors going on around you that you have to kind of stay within?
I don't know. I think if there's a clear direction from the podium, everyone just kind of knows what the conductor is asking for, and it becomes obvious just listening within your section and then listening to across the stage to all the different instruments. I think it just kind of happens naturally if everything's working.
Yeah, I did want to actually ask you about conductors because, after that much time in the TSO, you've played under an endless list of conductors. And, the art of conducting is one of those very mysterious things. I think we both know that it's so mysterious that there's actually a dangerous zone of posing. There's a lot of room for posing. But I've heard some conductors actually say that when they're visiting an orchestra, they have until the first rehearsal break to make it. Is that true? Is it game over if they haven't won over the orchestra in the first hour and a half, or is it even less time than that?
It can be less. I mean, you try not to make any kind of long-term judgments early on, but you can kind of tell if they have a lot to offer. You kind of see that pretty early on. But then there are a lot of conductors that you see more and more of them as the week goes on. And so, maybe on Monday, you're kind of we have certain ideas of how this conductor is and what they have to say. And as the week goes on, you're you really start to understand them. And by the end of the week, you might have a totally different, interpretation of that conductor. And that's really neat.
Yeah, and some conductors, are one way in rehearsal, and then something else comes out in a concert.
Right, they bring it to a next level or something like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's disconcerting because, you have kind of an expectation of how they're going to be in the concert, and you look up and they're doing something really differently. It's wait a sec, what's going on? This is not how we rehearsed it. So I guess it can go both ways, but it is nice when they take it up, take chances.
Now, I know that also, when it comes to truly good conductors, each one of them has their own style. But is there something that unites them? What do the good conductors have in common?
Well, I think, obviously, and beyond the basics of understanding the composer and be able to kind of show what they want, with their hands and their body and their facial expressions, this ability to have a picture of how you want the piece to go as a conductor, and then to let the players play their instruments and be expressive within the parameters of the conductor's interpretation. I guess what it means is to have control, over the situation, but trust the players and let them express themselves individually. That's what I love about Gustavo is that performance, from Wednesday to Thursday, one day apart, can feel like a totally different experience because he lets the players express themselves. And, everybody's human, and everyone feels different from one day to the next.
That's very interesting. It sounds kind of like, I don't know, like navigating waters or something. So the waters are the players, are the feelings, or the feeling in the room.
Exactly.
And being responsive to that moment as opposed to having a prefixed idea or a fixed idea of how it's supposed to go from, each day.
Right.
Oh, interesting. Well, yeah, I think we're all looking forward to seeing how that relationship evolves with the TSO when the time finally comes. I also wanted to ask, maybe you've answered this already, but this is a question that I'm, asking point blank to everybody, that every chair in the orchestra has its particular art that the audience and maybe even your colleagues aren't aware of. What is the secret art of playing in the viola section?
That's just trying to do what I was talking about earlier, just to blend and just be aware and just be a part of, to create like a blended, beautiful sound. And to bring out your line. I think, especially the inner voices, a lot of times conductors are often really concerned about the melody being heard and making sure that everyone else is a little bit softer so that nothing covers the melody. But with a good composer, I think that kind of takes care of itself. And so I always love it when our section is encouraged just to play out the inner voice or the secondary line and just make it really come out. I think, when you have a chance to shine in the inner voices, that's the second violin, the viola, is just to really do so.
Yeah, there are definitely some hidden gems in those inner parts.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Which I know is, I think actually the secret art in the viola section is like the secret pleasure that we get that nobody else knows about because they're not listening.
It's true. And then, when the conductor really has you bring out an inner voice, and other people in the orchestra say, oh my God, I never even knew that was there.
Exactly. Wow. Well, thanks, Chris, so much. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, thanks for the call. Take care of yourself.